see where the arrow is pointing? That's what you want to look at. Right.
Greetings, namaste, hotep, and alafia. We give thanks and praise. This is Ialosha Oshun, Itana Sonami. I'm coming to you once again with Thursday Theatrics. Yes. I pray that you all are so far having a wonderfully blessed day today, and that so far everything is at peace, that you are working towards whatever goals and plans and actualizations of yourself and your purpose. So I just hope that all of your days are at peace in the midst of whatever may be going on, and know that all things always work together for good. And so today we are going to be discussing self-awareness, the 3 levels of self-awareness. There's 5 levels of awareness in the consciousness based on Freud's perception and calculations and thought processes. But we're going to talk about just the 3 levels of awareness, which is very, very important. I again want to share with you that if you haven't already, we will be coming from my book, Up from the Mud, The Rebirthing of a Lotus. Okay, this is the title of the book, Up from the Mud, The Rebirthing of the Lotus, a womb wisdom journey of poems and wellness tools for the mind, body, soul, and spirit. And so we will be talking about the importance of us being aware of self, being aware of our surroundings, being aware of what is it that we're here for, and the internal part of ourselves, and how do we go through this maze, this wonderful maze of life, staying aware, staying what we have now been phrased with being awoke, being awakened to ourselves, right? But this is talking about, the consciousness, the conscious level of us as human beings, and why is it important to have these levels of awareness. The first level of awareness we're going to discuss is the awareness that one should have to self. When you wake up in the morning and yourself should be the first thing that you see, right? And so do we actually take a look at ourselves? Are we attentive to our existence? Are we attentive to who we have become and what we are becoming? The second level of awareness is our attentiveness to those that are before us, to things that are around us, okay? And what does that appear to be? What does that look like? Why are we focusing on these things, and what is the message that is before us? The third level of awareness is our ability to go within, our ability to seek the thing that is most divine within us and all around us. So that is the third level of awareness. And so my question to you today too is what would be is, you know, is our first level of awareness an actual thing? Are we really focused and aware of ourselves, who we are, what our intentions are, what our goals are, what is our purpose? And just not on the exterior, but also on the interior. You know, what is the goal for our internal selves? You know, what is the goal for our spiritual existence, right? Because this is the other thing. We are so inundated with things that are all around us. You know, we have our cell phones, we have the internet, we have social media, right? And it's so preoccupies sometimes our physical, right? Our physical selves, that we become so focused on the outside world. We become so focused on things that other people are saying or doing or becoming, or, you know, that we, most of the time, we forget ourselves. We forget the care and the wellness and the retreat that we have to have for ourselves. Okay. So this is why this is so important, right? Because it is something that is going to help us as we traipse through this maze of life, as we traipse through this maze we call life. It's going to help us to really stay in tune with how we proceed on a day-to-day basis. And so again, we're going to go into a little bit about the 3 levels of awareness, um, and why these things are important for our existence. And why is it that we have to be connected? Why do we have to be connected to self? Why is it important for us to be connected to that which is before us? Why is it important for us to be in tune with the internal self of who we are? Okay. Before we get this talk started, want to say greetings to everyone online, Mr. Grantham, Joe, um, Will. Thank you, and thank you for your inspiration on this talk as well, because it has definitely been an inspiration to me. It's definitely been even a more of an inspiration since Will and I have had this conversation about self-awareness, and I've gone into more studies about it since I've written about it in the book. And so I just want to say thank you for that. And that's that second level of awareness, when people come before you, and it's purposeful, and there's always a lesson and a blessing. You know, when others come before you to speak or to show up or to just be present, because many times when we're just present, there's not much that's necessary or needed to be said. If we're just observant, if we're self-aware, if we're just observant of those who are before us, sometimes the message speaks louder when they're silent. And so when there is a verbal message, it is very important to embrace that message and know that that message is for a greater lesson, so that you can receive the greater blessing. So thank you again. And so I want to bring on, I want to have, go ahead and introduce a special guest that I have that's on. I'm hoping that she's on. I'm trying to we're working on the technology here to try to get her online. And I call her Dr. Dex, but she is not an official doctor, but she is that which is a divine right sister of mine, is like how I like to claim her as to be, is uh, to me, because she has been with me throughout the years as I have grown and expanded my knowledge through my travels, and and just becoming more spiritually aware and naturally aware of just life and all of the lessons that have come with that. And she has been one of those sisters that have been like that iron sharpens iron sister, right? And so we have come through many realms together, and we have shared many stories and shared many traumas that led to, or dramas that led to some of our traumas in life. And we have both been healers from those experiences. And so I want to try to get her on as soon as possible so that we can continue the expansion of this dialogue today. Okay. And so we're going to continue until she comes on, and see if we can chat with her. But in this, we want to talk about why it's important. Why is it important to be self-aware? Because if we're self-aware, the tag that I always speak at the end of every session is self-awareness brings about self-care. And so if we have self-care, right? If we have self-care, it is usually because somewhere along the line we have done some type of internal study and research about who we are, whom's we are, where we come from, why is it that we have come to this place. But first, before I get into that, I want to say, how many of you wake up in the morning unclothed and take a really good look at yourself? How many of us do that? I don't think many people do that, because um, that's connected to that first level of awareness, to your consciousness, to your awakening self, right? And being able to look at yourself in the mirror and be okay, be good, feel good, right? No matter what state, no matter where we are, no matter what's going on, there's a acceptance that is needed and necessary for that to begin, so that um, we are able to embrace the totality of who we are. Okay. So this is why this first level of awareness starts with the physical, right? Being able to allow the gates to the soul to connect, to the physical soul of who we are, right? So that we can then begin to say, okay, I embrace me, I love me, I accept me, good, bad, or indifferent. I am a constant work in process, right? So this is that first level of awareness. And again, we're talking about the shifting of that level of awareness, so that because today, as I spoke before, today most of our awareness is on other people. It's watching other people, being inundated with what's going on with other people in the world around us, right? We have a culture of that now. We almost cannot help it, where we wake up in the morning and some people, the first thing they do is they look at their phones, right? And so the level of awareness and being connected to self, looking in the mirror at your beautiful, wonderful, alive self, being the first thing. right? Blessing yourself is being the first thing. Giving thanks and praise and prayers to the creator of yourself, right? The one who created self. Being able to observe and absorb and then become aware of self is so important. It's so important, right? So in that first level of awareness, having to shift the mind, having to kill, those old, destroy those old peptides to restore, or new old dopamines to restore old new peptides in the brain, to say, okay, today when I hit the ground, my feet hit the ground, I'm going to wake up giving thanks and go to that mirror and begin to see thyself for who I am, what I am, and where I want to go, and where I want to be, what I want to become, right? So taking notice of that, because even I've noticed, even in our cultures of spirituality, we've been taught that that behavior could be deemed as being self-absorbed, can be, deemed as being cocky, or, full of self. Yet I feel that in that level of self-awareness, how can one be fully invested in healing? And this is what this is all about. Again, we're talking about my book here, the book Up from the Mud, The Rebirthing of the Lotus, a womb wisdom journey of poems and wellness tools for the mind, body, soul, and spirit. So even in the poems, the poems are not just feel good. There are some really, hardcore poems in there. There's this one that I wrote, it's called Looking in the Mirror from the Inside. And it's talking about the pain and the scars and things we have learned to dress ourselves with and become, and not see that in order for us to dislodge and disconnect and destroy and annihilate and disintegrate the dis-ease that causes dis-ease in the body, that we then begin, the dis-ease we clothe, and then it becomes disease because it gets lodged into the body, that in order for us to annihilate that, there has to be a sense of awareness. There has to be a sense of awareness. So this is so important, so important, that if we can begin to become more aware of ourselves and care for ourselves, then we have to have this first level of awareness. Being able to look at yourself in the mirror, embrace yourself, accept yourself, speak prayers and mantras, and begin to speak wellness into thyself, right? But be able to look at yourself physically, and be able to accept all that you are and all that you wish to become, okay? And then be able to say, okay, these are the things that I would love or like to for thyself, okay? Because only you know the things that you need healing from, the things that you need recovery from, the things that you need to grow towards or to, because that's what life is. She is our greatest teacher. And in that process, we're always growing. We should be always growing, should be always learning, should be always things being revealed to us, right? So that's the first level. And then in that first level, we can accept what is and what is not. Not worried about anyone else, not worried about anything else, or what someone else is not doing for us, right? And if something happened, knowing that, as we, like, if there's been an affliction of some sort, that affliction right, wrong, or indifferent is something that we have to, at one point or another, bring peace to ourselves and allow Spirit and the Creator to deal with that, as we move forward, to be able to embrace our total selves for healing, right? And so when we begin to focus more, our mind, like our mind meditations, will bring us to a more focused intention about who we are, whom's we are, how we get through the day, how we get through a matter or a circumstance or a situation. How? If we do not pour into thyself first, right? Then will we be able to say, oh, I have some people say, well, I don't know, I don't really pray, or I don't meditation, that I don't know anything about that. And it's simply because there is lack of self-awareness. Okay? Being true to thyself is knowing thyself, and knowing thyself is being true to thyself. So if you know thyself, then be true, right? Being true is making that one-on-one. That's like having that best friend, always and forever. You are your very best friend. So how do you make time to make the connection with self? So we're just gonna start there. I don't want to go too far in the deep with it, but I want to just make it very general, very plain, that your first level of awareness needs to be with yourself, and be very conscious of what is the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning. Some people say, well, I go and I pray. That's wonderful, and you should. But when you're praying, before you pray or after you pray, is there a connection with those windows to the soul? Is there a connection with the physical being of who you are, or what you are becoming, or who you have used to be, or growing to, or whatever state that you may be in, and being aware and being accepted? Because a lot of the messages, a lot of the things that we seek is right there. It's right there. If we just open our eyes and just take a look, it's right there. So we just need to be more cognizant, of not giving everything. We give everything up to all energies, including and especially God. We say, oh, I'll just tell God, I just would. But what about you focusing on you? Because then you'll be more focused on your God light. You'll be more focused on the divine. You'll be more focused on, the Creator, the Holy Spirit, or whoever. You need to be focused on thyself. And when you are focused on thyself, then all things connect to you. It won't be a struggle. It won't be a conflict as much, or it won't be a challenge. Because for some people, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, It's a great challenge. You think of someone who's overwhelmed with work or children or family, and they're on their knees and they're praying and like, oh God, I just need your strength, I just need your help, I just need. But you never take the time to take a look, to examine, to connect with the soul, to ask the question, what do you need? What do you desire? What is it how is it that I can assist you? Because the answers are always from within. They're always within the temple. So if we can take a moment to get up and check in, that would be that first level of awareness. Just checking in and seeing what is important or what is necessary, what is needed. You know, what is it that we have most what are we most desirous of at that time? And the answer will be right there if we just check in, right? So that is the first level, and I feel like this is going to become like a very short series because we're still just on the first level and we've gone almost 20 minutes into this, and I really feel like, it's something that needs to be, the information needs to be spoken on in a very careful way. It needs to be examined very carefully. It needs to be dialogued very carefully and cautiously, so that there's not only an understanding, but like I like to say, an understanding and an overstanding, because you have to have an internal clarity about all things, right? An internal clarity. And then you have the overstanding, which is the override of everything, so that you are walking through this maze without feeling out of balance or out of touch, but you're in the flow because you've been preparing. You've been given the information. You have been making the examinations, right? We are our greatest examiners. Okay. I mean, I don't tell anybody not to, see their doctor for their annual checkups and things of that nature. But when it comes down to the true diagnosis, your internal being, your internal uh, checkpoints are always on point. You just have to check in. You just have to learn how to check in, and that is something that is very ancient. It's very, very, very old, uh, to these new minds of today, right? It seems new to us, but it's nothing new. Nothing is new under the sun. I said to someone not too long ago that was talking about how all these cultures are coming to the forefront, and like everybody's like, oh my God, like, these cultures are, the African cultures and all this is, becoming the being mainstream. I'm like, no, although there is a time and season for everything, yes. Historically, if we truly read and examine and do our work, our studies, with history and geography and culture and spirituality and all that, we'll find that everything has a season. Absolutely. Yet the only reason we are so inundated, or seems we're so aware, we're cognizant of these things, is because we have social media, right? But this is nothing new. This is nothing new. You got a lot of people like, oh, this new. No, it's not new. It's very old. It's very ancient. We're just new to being inundated with the information because we have access. And when you have access, then you have an entryway to receive it. And now people are more independently capable of receiving something that they would have had to travel to discover, to become revelatory about. And so I am always uh, just blessed because I have those abilities, by the grace and the blessing of the Creator and Mother, to be able to travel. And I say even in my book that traveling is learning, because even when you read it in a book, it is from someone else's opinion or thought processes. But when you're able to take that trip, to journey in places of the unknown, which I have been in some places, and while I was there, I've said, boy, if the people that I know knew that, of this place, of this divine sacred space that I was in right now, because it just seemed like it was no man's land. some of the places that I've been, it was like, wow, what a wonder, what a wonder. But the things that I learned, the things that I've learned, and a lot of things that I've learned, I've come to a revelation about. It's been by sitting and sleeping and eating and congregating and fellowshipping with people of other indigenous cultures that don't speak the language. And one of the things I will say, and going back to the self-awareness, is that in those cultures, talking about the self-awareness, um, you see people in some countries where, when they enter into a space, they acknowledge everyone around them when they enter into that space. We don't always have that in this culture. I mean, don't get me wrong, we have people from different households that run their households in various ways, in our country. But when you go to another continent and go out to another place and you see how people interact with one another, how they're so engaged with one another, how like hugging and kissing or just shaking hands or holding one another is so passionate and so full of a greater intent, or just the way they would greet one another has such a great intent. The awareness is to another level, right? And so we want to really examine and then re-examine this thought process about awareness, about our first level of awareness. Again, there's 3 levels of awareness: your awareness of self, your awareness of those that are around you and before you, and then the internal awareness, right? And so again, we're just talking about that first level of awareness. And how do we proceed throughout the day, from the beginning of the day, with ourselves? How do we connect? How do we make the connection? Um, Even as we're going into prayers, those of us that practice prayers in the morning or in the afternoon and evening or all throughout the day, how do we incorporate that with our connection to self? And why should we begin to make that important? Why should we begin to embrace that? You know, because it matters. Because it matters. Because you are a spirit having a human experience, and your spirit human experience, your greatest spirit's human experience, should be with thyself. Because at the end of the day, if you think of all of the challenges, if you think of any kind of, test or turmoil, or, even in those moments of being full of joy and gladness and glee, and if you think about all those moments, guess what? How many of you really can say that you had all these people around you celebrating, right? Not many. Most of the time, when we're either going through it, good, bad, or indifferent, you're alone. It's very few moments that you have where you have a whole bunch of people just at your beck and call and they're celebrating with you. And it's not to say anything about the people, but you have to be true to yourself to recognize and realize. I mean, yes, we could be at a party. I'm one for celebrations, so I love celebrations. I love parties, and I will throw my own self a party. That's because I love parties, so I throw my own self parties all the time. Invite people to come out. Yet the joy is from within, which is most important. So if you can have joy from within, right? Then if someone is not, celebrating with you sincerely, it doesn't really matter, right? It would be nice. It would be wonderful, because it always makes of of a great atmosphere when others can be joyful with you, um, as well as when you're sad or down or or have a challenge, you have someone there as well. So this is why, the many reasons why self-awareness is of the utmost importance. Um, Again, I said I was not going to go on because number one, I wanted to have Dex on with me, and so we're going to try to get her on again before the weekend is out. So I hope you all will join me again. And the other thing is, I just don't, I want to not go on because I think that the self awareness piece is something that is a topic of discussion all by itself, and something that we can meditate on and be focused, should be more focused on um, one piece and one part at a time, so that we're not inundated with, you know, having to do all three, but take one step, one day at a time, and begin to become more aware. uh, because again, self-awareness is self-care, and the other thing I like to say is self-awareness is wellness, right? It's total and true wellness. So again, we are going to we're going to conclude it with that today. And before we do, I just want to remind you of those that will be in Rochester, New York. I will be there October 27th and 28th at Barnes and Nobles in Pittsburgh Plaza from 2 to 4. And then I will be at the Comfort Inn and Suites from 6 to 8. There is another event, and it's a free event for young girls. I think it's at number 45 school. I'm going to have that information posted. I'm going to put it on my Facebook page because it is a free event for young women, teenagers. I think starting at age 16, and it's all you have to do is register. And it's an empowerment conference for young girls and mentors, teachers, um, and wellness facilitators. And so I'm going to post that up again so that you all can do pre-registration because it is necessary to attend. And then that's it. It's a free event in Rochester, New York on October the 27th. So again, uh, the event is also for 6 to 8 p.m. On the 27th is on Eventbrite. And so I'm going to post that as well. I've already posted it on my From the Mud page, but you can look it up again and go on Eventbrite and get your registration and fee done there. It's 15 in advance and $20 the day of the event. After October the 18th. The other thing I want to mention to you is that we will be having product coming up: t-shirts, yoga mats, cups, notepads. So I'm very, very excited about it. The pictures and of the logos will be the logo from the book, the Keziah symbol, both on the front and back cover. And also there will be mantras on these t-shirts. I'm very excited about it. The Keziah Motri, the shirts with the Keziah symbol will have the Keziah spiritual and universal balance enlightenment mantras on there. There's 10 mantras on the Keziah from the Keziah symbol. And again, the Keziah symbol has every ancient African symbol, like the main symbol from an African diaspora, that speaks of life and spiritual enlightenment and eternal life. So we have everything from the ancestors. So they have the Sankofa, we have the 21 divisions, we have the eternal life circles, we have the Ankh, the Eye of Haru, There is the will mantra. There's a many different symbols on the Kazaya symbol. So look for it. I'm going to be posting it so that you can see what the t-shirts will look like and you can place your order. So I'm very excited about that, and I'm looking forward to posting it and wearing it so that you all can see it as well, and prejudge and let me know what your thoughts are. Again, it has been my blessing and my pleasure to connect with you. I am Ialosha Oshun Itana Sonami, coming to you with enlightenment from Oshun from birth. That is what my name means. And I am blessed beyond measure to connect with you one more time today. And I hope and pray that your day and your weekend is filled with self awareness, that you will wake up in the morning during your time of prayer and meditation and will allow the soul to connect, to view what is before you, right? And that you have peace, love, and acceptance within, so that all things without will be in alignment. Again, I send you peace, love, and blessings. Until next time, Odabo.